I want to bring in Phil Waters now. He's a retired homicide detective from the Houston Police Department. He's investigated more than 400 homicides. So I wonder what sticks out to you. I gave you the fact pattern. I gave you the similarities and the differences between Rachel Morin and this one. You know, one of them is 6 o'clock in the evening in the summer. It's bright and sunny and lovely where Rachel Morin was killed. This woman is out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, still bright and sunny with the fall leaves. Does anything else stick out about this, Phil?
Well, thank you for having me back, Ashley. The first thing I want to tell you is thank you for the first part of your show here and exposing the atrocities that are going on in Israel. So our prayers are with them.
Horrendous. And then you know what, Phil? I said it was a crime show, right? I started the show. I said this is a crime show, but I'm going to start with war. But the truth is, that is crime. That is war crime. Terrorism and taking teenage girls who are dressed for a frickin' Taylor Swift concert and throwing them into these, you know, mass kidnap zones and families and kids, you know, that's just crime. So it fit at the top of this show, but I didn't want to belabor the story that, you know, most cable news outlets are doing. Anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
Well, no, at its most depraved. You know, you're exactly right. But let's talk about this case. I tell you, in reading what I read and listened to what the chief said, gosh, I'm hopeful that, excuse me, I am hopeful that the chief is doing something. I was kind of amazed that, you know, we don't know we don't have anything we can do kind of attitude, and we don't know if it's targeted, we don't know if it's random. There's a whole lot we don't know. We really don't know which direction. Well, look, this is a case. It's obviously a big whodunit. You've got to hit the ground running with this thing. I would think they're out looking for possible video evidence somewhere. We're trying to get a timeline on when did she. Now, my understanding is she's been retired for several years. This was one of her favorite hiking trails, and so she would presumably have to leave wherever she was to get to that trail, go in at the head of that trail, and then short time later, I'm curious as to the time frame of the time she enters the trail to the time these shots are heard and the witness discovers her body. So there's a lot of questions.
And how about, hey, Phil, how about whoever it is that gave this redhead description of the suspect? Right. That person dodged literally a bullet because they had to have seen that person up close enough to be within a range of being shot as well as a witness. But somehow they were able to say, the guy that passed me, I'm guessing, it was redhead. I have one thing I need to ask you about. There's something very unique about this case that is not the same as Rachel Morin's case and is not the same as other cases. I know that in your line of work, you guys go sort of, you know, you move out with the concentric circles. You start at those closest to her, boyfriend, husband, is there acrimony, all that stuff. There is something unusual. Ms. Fleming's husband, his name is Ron Powers, okay? He wrote a book about mental illness, and he was very, very vulnerable and forthcoming about his two sons and said they both suffered from schizophrenia. One took his own life. The other one is still alive. As a homicide detective, is that a game changer? Does that change the equation on how you investigate?
It doesn't change it. It becomes part of it. The husband needs to be interviewed, and that son needs to be interviewed. Now, I understand that there's been some post made by the husband directly related to this son, kind of explaining that he was not involved. I find that a little odd. This is one of these cases where they've got to reach the people they need to talk to with a sense of urgency. So the first thing I would have done, this is my scene, we need to, as you've already stated, find out who the closest people are to her. And those are the first people we need to go to, because perhaps they can at least put the timeline together for why she's even on that trail at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And so, and then there's no telling what kind of information we're going to garner from those interviews. And I think it's critically important that that son is interviewed. There's a lot of strangeness around the post. A lot of strangeness around the book.
There's a lot to unpack and a lot to figure out. Phil, thank you. I want to make sure, because we've got breaking news, because this person's still out there, it is a manhunt. I want to let people know that if you have any information, anything at all, you can call the Vermont State Police at 802-773-9101. It should be on your screen. I don't know if we have that. Yeah, there you go. Just take a quick photograph of your TV screen right now. Call the Vermont State Police, 802-773-9101. It takes a village, folks, to catch a bad guy in a manhunt, and oftentimes you are the difference. Thank you, Phil Waters. Appreciate it so much.